Every business knows they need great marketing, but it's often hard to know what works and what you should be doing, let alone finding the time to do it. Abby and her team at Crisp Communications take all this hassle away, creating beautiful marketing that helps businesses put their best foot forward. They don't just deliver great results, they're also super easy to work with and practice what they preach with great communication all along the way. So if you need a new website, new branding, new brochures, or even help with your podcast, head to crispcoms.co to find out more.
There are a few things finer in life than beer.
But have you ever wondered how that golden goodness was made?
Then hop on board with Hop On Brewery Tours.
We'll take you behind the scenes of local breweries, show you the fascinating brewing process, and even find the right beer for you.
With full and half-day tour options available, Hop On Brewery Tours offer the most fun, educational, and unique day out in Brisbane or on the Gold Coast.
Change your perception of beer with Hop On Brewery Tours, Queensland's original craft beer tours. Visit hoponbrewerytours.com.au today.
So, are you ready to hop on?
Remember, always drink responsibly.
We're tough, we're keen, we're good, we're a team. We're the very best team you've ever seen. We're the Brisbane Bears.
The Brisbane Lions Fancast is back, and the Brisbane Lions are back on top of the AFL ladder. One game clear, 7-1. After a hard slog Q clash. There was a bit of rain. It was a sellout. The first Q clash to sell out, which was bloody impressive. It was fully retro. We had cheerleaders, we had fireworks, we had Dare to Beat the Bear, we had the Guernseys, we had it all. Most importantly, we got 4 points after it all. Patrick, we are here thanks to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. And if you do book yourself a Hop On Brewery Tour, you do get to walk away with a free Hop On Brewery Tours Skewy glass, which is pretty good. How did you see Q Clash 28?
It was really good. Really good. It was a bit of a technical masterclass, I would say. Although we still managed to play 3 quarters, and there were 3 good quarters. So, all in all, we humbled a pretty bloody good midfield with pretty bloody good midfield. So,
smashed.
I think we talked about that.
Absolutely smashed him in the middle, and Damien Hardwick's press conference echoed those statements. He was just saying, "Look, you can." The summary is pretty quick. We got hammered in the midfield, contested possessions, clearances, everything was just like very green our way. So it was really, really good. And I didn't post. I quoted on our Twitter feed. Have you ever watched Jeff White's first use analysis stuff?
Was he like the third member of the White Stripes?
No, he was old Melbourne ruckman. Do you remember when Jeff White got kicked in the face by, I think it was Stephen Graham back in the early 2000s? Shattered his face. Anyway, former Melbourne ruckman before Mark Jamar. He does this thing called first use analysis. I don't know if he's doing some coaching or whatnot, but he often posts clips of like centre bounce and stoppages and like what teams are doing. It's really, really interesting. It's right in the weeds sort of stuff. But
it seems like it would be right up my alley then.
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. I'll send you the link. It was really good, and he did like a 12-minute video on our centre bounces, which was very interesting to watch if you're into that sort of stuff. But yeah, that midfield, they're going to dominate the votes today, as they did with the Marcus Ashcroft medal. Will Ashcroft, Levi Ashcroft, Lachie Neale was allowed to do whatever he wanted. Hugh had a fantastic game, and of course Josh Dunkley was absolutely huge as well in the way he not only won the ball himself, but limited Matt Rowell to 1 clearance in a game of footy, which is unprecedented behaviour. So that is where the game was won and lost, as they do often say in AFL circles.
Yeah, good wrap up. Heading into the game, though, we had a few little injury woes, or, Kai didn't end up being quite so good. They sat out. And a bit of a late out with Logan Morris. Not a late out in the Geelong sense, but just an out. Logan Morris with a bit of calf awareness. The extended bench, I think, gave a few people, a few points of interest, just mainly with Tom Doedee being named on the extended bench before, obviously, they were then kind of put back in. I think some fans had to come to terms with the Darcy Gardner up forward, which, is what it is.
Yeah.
So doesn't really matter. And yeah, they were probably annoyed, but I wasn't too I didn't mind. It's fine. So yeah, in came McLaughlin and in came Jack Payne to take his spot down back and play one heck of a football game on the Coleman medal leader, Max King.
Ben King.
Whatever. Ben King. Shit. I do it every time. I was so confident there too.
Yeah, you did say it with enough bravado. We also had Conor McKenna come in as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
I genuinely thought we were going to get a full game for McLaughlin and Conor McKenna would be the sub. It wasn't to be, and by the time Will McLaughlin came on, which was fairly early, didn't have much of an impact. And I did have a sneaky prediction before that I did post on our Instagram and stuff that I thought Will McLaughlin was going to kick 3. I think he was lucky to get 3 touches in the end, if we're honest. But
a bit ambitious there. But
what we did see,
I like ambition,
was a good game from Charlie Cameron.
Yes, we did, and we appreciate the questions last week, but that's why you keep him in the team.
Yeah, you sort of had a
case in point.
You sort of had a feeling that the game against the Suns was going to be the one. Like they've never really had a very strong small defender. Butterig's gone through there. Lemons was it for a while. Powell is sort of it. They've got those 2 attacking half-backers, of course. They haven't got that, like we've got Noah or Brandon Starcevic. They haven't got that really strong lockdown small to medium defender. So there was always going to be an opportunity for us to take advantage of that, and Charlie Cameron certainly seized on a couple of those opportunities. A big out for them was Ben Long coming into that game as well, who injured himself on the Friday, who has had one hell of a year. And they recalled David Swallow, who kicked the first goal but was pretty quiet thereafter as well. Yeah,
the Gold Coast, I think, heading behind the ball, they've got players, but it just sort of seems like they're lacking in some little spots. They tried to obviously compensate with that with Rioli and Noble coming in this year to give him a bit more thrust off the back. I thought Noble, he accumulated a lot of the ball, but it wasn't...
His first quarter was pretty good.
Some inside 50s were good, yeah. Actually true. The kick inside 50 to whoever it was that probably sunk the set shot in the first quarter was great.
I think it was.
And Rioli had some really... That one on the wing that he kind of bust through, picked the ball up.
Oh, that pickup, that one-handed pickup in the wet was pretty juicy. But like Archie had the role on Rioli, so I was looking forward to a few certain matchups at the start of the game. Sort of when the teams are lining up, the ball's yet to be bounced, you sort of cast your eye over. And so Archie went to Rioli, Harris on Jed Walter, which meant Payne took Ben King. So Ben King's got a hold of Harris before, so I was pretty glad to see that matchup. And then Dunkley to Rao were the big ones. I was interested to see that Lachie Neale was sort of free to do whatever he liked. Dimmer's not a big tagger. You always have a look at where Tuke Miller's going. He started up forward, but not on Zorko. And before we go any further, how good and ironic was it that Dane Zorko caught Tuke Miller holding the ball in the first quarter?
It's pretty good. I also like Tuke Miller kicking it out on the full to Zorko. Were there any squirrel grip chants going up in the stadium at all?
No, it was pretty tame. No, Tuke Miller gets a few boos anytime he gets the ball from the crowd, which there's a lot of history there, and I really like Tuke Miller as a footballer. I think he's great, and he has been for a long time. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of animosity there.
Understandable, and it would be we'd be remiss to say that Dane Zorko wasn't an absolute jerkwad for the vast majority of the early stages of that anyway. So, all in all, they kind of showed, I think, so first thing I'll get out of the way, because anyone that watched, obviously not at the stadium. Now, Grasshopper sent a message and said, I should go to the game. Now, I live in Geelong. I had to play soccer. I couldn't get there on time. So I couldn't get the late 5 o'clock flight up to Brisbane to watch the game. So sorry. But, tell you what, I love the build-up to the, I'm going to say probably the biggest Q clash that's ever been, being an hour of the bounce. That ran long.
Yep.
And then all of about 14 minutes that pretty much missed the teams. They missed Gold Coast coming out. They had people talking over the dare to beat the bear and didn't have anything like that. What? Can you imagine doing that to any Victorian game that doesn't matter, or a showdown, or a derby? It just wouldn't happen. So pathetic, I've got to say. and annoying. But, you think they'd read the room a little bit better.
Did they, on commentary, refer to us as the Bears, like throughout the game?
No, and they didn't have the Bears logo down the bottom.
Yeah.
They've been doing it they haven't been calling Footscray all year, but they've had the logo.
Yeah.
So I noticed on the VFL that they were referring to them as the Brisbane Bears.
Yeah, they
were well and truly still the
almost
Lions,
exclusively referred to them as the Bears. Like there was a couple of slip-ups where they said the Lions out of habit, but they almost exclusively referred to the Twos as the Bears throughout the game. At the stadium, it was the Bears logo and it said Bears on the scoreboard and stuff.
Yeah. You could see on the coverage that when they showed any kind of scoreboard, you could see it was there. So they obviously just don't give much of a shit.
Well, it's like,
and
I don't know if there just wasn't communication from the club to, AFL or the media to say, hey, look, we want to be the Bears this week. Please refer to us as the Bears. Update all your graphics. Or whether it was sort of like, oh, this is just for the fans here, and so we're going to keep it in house to an extent. So I don't know, like, how much effort they actually went to in trying to, get that out there. The Guernseys sold out like real quick, and they've had to restock them.
The Guernseys are so good.
Yeah, and as we speak, the Indigenous Guernseys have been released today as well, which look pretty schmick, as they always do as well. So that's exciting stuff. Before we go any further, I want to give 2 shout-outs. One to Tom. On Sunday during the day, I attended a friend of my son's 4th birthday, and Tom was there with his daughter as well, and recognised me from the podcast, and we had a good chat about the footy and the show and everything. So big shout out to Tom, thanks for listening, and to Winston and his kids that I ran into at the footy. Those that have listened to the show for the last year or so will know that Winston sent in a message last year, I believe, who said one of his boys changes the words to the official song to "Go Lions, Brisbane Lions will kick you in the balls," and we had a good laugh about that at the time. Thought it was brilliant. So I met the kick you in the balls kid, which was awesome, and Winston. So it's really great to meet people that do listen, and if you do see us anywhere, please say g'day. Like it's very much appreciated. And of course, anyone that has bought any of the shirts over the last week as well, which are available through BrisbaneLionsFancast.com, to do a huge thanks to you as well. It means the world.
I'd say maybe not. Don't say hi anywhere. Like if we're like committing crimes or something like that, maybe don't interrupt. Not saying that that's what happens all the time, but if it was,
sure, maybe
don't there. If we're trying to land an aeroplane. Not the right time. So use your judgment. But, so going into the first quarter, what was your sort of take on the start of the game? Because it sort of started raining, maybe like 5-10 minutes into the game. It was pretty early on that it...
Well, as we spoke last week, I tipped the Suns. And I went with my mate, Jacob, who is a staunch Suns fan. So we went together, and he was sitting in the members with his Suns beanie and shirt on. And I spoke to him throughout the week. I just thought, like, your midfield is too... physical, too it's going to be too big for us, and I think the way you guys have been playing, we've been inconsistent. I just think that the Suns are going to be primed and really ready for this Q clash, and they're going to come out firing, and I thought they would win. I genuinely thought that they were going to beat us, but it wasn't long before, I think about the second time Charlie kicked his goal, very quickly after his first one. My mate was saying, I hate it here so much, and I hate this team. So he was going, like, defaulting to Gold Coast Suns mode. So the rain came down. It wasn't long after that. I thought Sam Day got off to a really good start. Actually, we were just talking off air. I thought he came out with like a point to prove against his old club. Took a couple of good marks. But then the rain came down. He went off with a hamstring, and I wasn't too unhappy about that, considering it wasn't going to be the night for key forwards. And you could tell the way that the Suns were just banging it inside 50, hoping that Ben King would clunk one, that it wasn't going to be the night for key forwards.
Yeah, I thought it would dry out, and it did dry out in the second quarter, but the first quarter really, they kind of snagged the first goal, and then it was pretty even. We just kind of couldn't put the scoreboard pressure on. A little bit of inaccuracy.
A little bit. Again.
A little bit, yeah. We've heard that before. But yeah, I definitely have taken... I don't know how easily you can tell with the subs whether they're being made and whatever, so I always default to just messaging you as soon as anything happens.
It is very helpful, yeah.
Because, and you were like, oh, I don't hate that. And it's like, yeah, but you don't love it either. Like,
no, you don't love it because our forward line just cannot have any sort of continuity in it.
Correct. But yeah, we're probably lucky to go ahead at quarter time due to some childish antics.
Yeah, so at the game, it was sort of hard to tell what the 50 was for. And then you find out that he's, pretending to or actually throwing grass. And
actually picked up a handful of grass and mud and threw it at Jared Berry.
Yeah, sure.
So someone said it best. It's like you're supposed to pretend to do that.
Yeah.
You like not actually have the stuff in your hands. And another person said that Matt Rowell would be unhappy with treating his food that way. So fantastic there. We talked last week about how much I love a Jared Berry goal. The first shot for goal wasn't bad. He just, 55 metres is pretty hard. So, probably lucky to go in ahead, but also deserve it, I would say. And the second quarter, we really turned it on at the beginning of that. I thought our wet weather footy was far superior to the way the Suns were playing. We were kind of gaining territory. We were able to do that with our kind of ascendancy at stoppage and clearance. So, and a lot of our points were scored from the front half. But the started like a bloody blaze of fire in the second quarter. So, how was it hearing?
You could tell
that song.
Yeah, the crowd was absolutely loving it because it had obviously been a while. And it was, partly because we haven't heard it in a while and, the crowd was pretty keen to sing it. And also, I think there was definitely an element of, like, getting behind Charlie and, trying to build his confidence as well. He did still spray a couple of shots that he would normally kick. There's around the corner ones that you back him in.
He's just hitting it short side every time.
Yeah, so...
Like, it's...
But he still, like, that first goal he kicked where he evaded, 2-3 tacklers and then banged it on the left. The second one, a bit dubious, like how the ball got from Bailey's hands to the floor is sort of like, but whatever. There were some questionable calls all night. And then,
actually, on that, I thought we got away a little bit in the first quarter with 3 high free kicks that were not paid. So just for anyone that last night I kind of played the fifth and didn't want to say anything about no, the umpires didn't do us any favours, but yes, I did note that in the first quarter we got away with, I thought, at least 3 high contact free kicks that were not paid, that probably should have been. So, but yeah, I don't know how Bailey got that ball out, but definitely just burst the pack and it squirted out and there it was.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, we'll get to votes soon, but I thought our key backs, Harris and Payne, were huge. Like, obviously the job that Payne did on Ben King, Ben King kicked the 1 goal, and it was sort of like a hack kick from Bailey Humphrey on his left foot that he just got caught out of position. It was a bit unlucky. And to keep Ben King to, 1 mark and 1 goal across the night that's a tick every day of the week. He was absolutely huge. And Harris...
Oh, it's more than a tick. It's like it would be best on ground had not the midfield played out of their skin as well. Yeah. And I understand that it's like a cause and effect thing, but it's such a luxury to have the ability to not put your best defender on the best forward to go and you're splitting hairs to go, well, who's actually the best one-on-one defender out of Payne and Harris? Yep. And it doesn't really matter because it just gives you the flexibility to, if you get a situation like GWS where you have a Hogan or whatever trying to muck about with the matchups, you just go, oh, well, whatever. They're both good.
I did like it, obviously, when Harris went to Sam Darcy those few weeks ago. I thought that was probably the right call as well. So, Fags obviously knows what he's doing, and the coaching team know what they're doing when they're creating these matchups. And I thought Froggy was brilliant as well because he obviously gave away a lot of height on Ethan Reid when he was down there. And like that whole defensive unit had a really, really great night. And we are going to obviously speak about the issues we're going to have with that back 6, back 7, because we've got some serious selection headaches. We've got to try, like, in a group that is playing out of their skin, we've got to try and squeeze 3 more players into it over the next few weeks, which is going to be an unenviable task, but also in a pretty enviable position to be in at the same time. So we will get to that later on. But those 2, especially the key defensive posts, were huge.
Yeah, and continuing on in the second quarter, Connor McKenna kicked a goal, which is fine.
Yep.
Good. And then McAndrew kicked one hell of a goal when
that was
GWS had a bit of a momentum shift where they were able to kind of have some repeat stoppages, and he just picked it up and flushed it from just inside 50. So that was a pretty good goal. I thought Hipwood was really good on him early. It really sort of taught him, hey, like, you're not going to walk around. I'll bring the heat. Hipwood won a couple of holding the ball free kicks and stuff like that, which was really good, set the tone. And it's great to see your key forward doing that. Not obviously a great game in terms of output from him, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, his role obviously changed dramatically as well once Sam Day went out as well. So that spanner in the works again with this forward line. But I thought he in the ruck he held his own against. Jared Witts is no mug. Like, he is
Jared Witts is
very very good ruckman.
Ethan Reid probably a slightly less difficult task, but Ethan Reid looks like he could be one hell of a player in the future too. Same with Jed Walters. Like, Jed Walters is scary big for how young he is. So
he's so slow though. I didn't realize how slow he was until seeing him in real life on Sunday night. Like, jeez.
Is he like Sam Day slow?
Slower than Sam Day.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, he was so like lumbered. Like, it was crazy. I didn't realize. And my mate, the JD that I went with, was like, yeah, he needs to lose weight. He needs to really get some conditioning. And it was stark. Yeah. And, he had, when that ball was going forward and Jed Walter had 10 meters on his next opponent, and like, it could not have gone any worse for Jed Walter. Like, he tried to, it's like, just bang it forward, kick it off the ground, do something. He sort of half bent down to pick it up, overran it, and it went horribly wrong for him.
Understandable. I thought in the second quarter that the Gold Coast kind of cleaned up their disposal. Like, the conditions kind of dried out a little bit by the end of the first half, and I think they adapted to the conditions a little bit better than us. We were still playing that kind of the long game, which is kind of a bit of a slight watch for me, just because we don't seem to adapt as quickly to the conditions as some other teams.
Yep.
Whether that's just because we're not being coached as hard in that matter, or the notice isn't getting out to the runner or onto the leadership group. But I mean, you can't fault the stoppage work. We were just turning the ball over a lot, going inside 50, particularly the end of that second quarter. Fine in the second half. Second half was fine. I want to sort of just slightly touch on, I thought Darcy Gardner had a very good game in a role that might have been missed, because to me he was just wearing Collins like a glove and stopping him from getting any kind of run at the ball. I only really remember Sam Collins having one kind of intercept mark across the pack, and it just kept everything isolated and meant the one-on-one matchups were very favourable for us. So I thought that was a sneaky good job. I don't know whether Logan Morris would have done it in the same way.
No,
so sometimes I think that I think that selflessness probably helped us less score impact but probably a little bit more than maybe even Logan Morris in the team would have been. So not to say that I don't think Logan Morris should come back in, because I do, but that was just a very well executed role, and I wanted to give him a bit of props because I don't think many people will.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he did hit the scoreboard in the end with a goal from the square. So good for him. Whether he holds his spot with the changes, he just may do. Day comes out, so we'll have to chat about that when we talk about team changes a little bit in the twos and all that sort of stuff. It was just brilliant, and Levi I thought was really, really good as well across the day. I mean, obviously both had.
Do you like Levi and Noah Answorth's little kind of budding on field kind of symbiosis that's happening? Because I noticed it a lot watching the game, that the two of them were isolated 2-on-2 quite a lot.
Yeah. And
they were so good at just working them out, and they were, giving little sort of like fist bumps and
Fletch,
good on you and stuff.
Sort of played his role in that role as well. The amount of times they'd put a block on so the other could gather the ball, and then more often than not receive the handball. Yeah, because
me, I love Shepherds so much.
Yeah.
And Noah Answorth is the least allergic to Shepherds in the AFL potentially. It's just, I think it's really good. It's a good person to be around for Levi, because it will teach him that the grunt work and the effort stuff, which is generally not super flashy or whatever, is still really important. And it leads to having Levi's last two games have been really good. really good. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great season so far. Like, has not missed a beat. Slotted into the team, played his role. His impact with the ball is good. The only thing you could sort of want more from him, aside from a little bit more defensive, accountability that we've spoken about, is, a little bit more scoreboard impact, but that'll come. Like, he knows how to kick goals, and he will. So, yeah.
I think both of those two things are just down to, one is the defensive accountability is something that will be coached into him, and then the scoreboard stuff is just because he's playing further from goal than probably ordinarily he would. Yep. Doing a lot of selfless running on the wing, which I think, some of the rumblings before the season started about his discipline or his unwillingness to be sort of a team player. I think when you plop him out on the wing, you learn what kind of a player he is or will be, and I think it's a good player. So yeah. I think that's quite good. Calamachi chipped in the second half with a few goals, which is good.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved the Czech side again, which is always good. And Ben King got his goal, and that was kind of all she wrote at 3/4 time. It was done, and we basically went to sleep, and
it was
did
done.
What we always do. And
there was a lot of winding down the clock in the second half, and it was a bit of a shame we didn't kick a goal in the last quarter. Like, that's probably the only stain on the game, and Chris Fagan said as much at the end that we should have won by more, but that has been the tail of the tape a couple of times this year. So to go goalless in the last quarter is just a bit of an annoyance rather than like we need to fix that. It's just a bit annoying because 17 points in the end, it really flatters the Suns.
Absolutely, they were killed. But it's also worth noting that we kind of, other than a 50-metre after the siren kick, we didn't kick a goal in 2 of the quarters. So there's still always room for improvement for us, and I think that's always an element that the rest of the competition should but aren't wary of. We're consistently under the radar somehow.
Yeah, and maybe this was a byproduct of the conditions as well, but still our corridor use was down on most weeks as well. Did use the wings and going down the line a fair bit across the night, so there were bits and pieces. I think that probably more would have been a conditions thing, but I do think that teams are starting to really flood the corridor, and the 15-metre kicks thing it's impacting us. But if we're still winning games, we're obviously trying to work through it, and there's no way that the coaching staff wouldn't be sort of sitting there going, well, we need to find other alternative ways to goal. So any team can flood the corridor. It's just you need contested marks and stuff, and that's where we've been a little bit struggly this season. So certainly has been.
Is what it is. Did you want to do a couple of votos?
Yeah, let's do some votes for hop on brewerytours.com.au. Tough one to vote for this week, and it is going to be heavily dominated by midfielders for me anyway. As I said, the keybacks were brilliant. And Lachie Neale, very stiff to miss out on votes on this one because I thought, especially early, he was really, really good. His first 2 quarters, he did get a little bit quieter in the third, and then the fourth he sort of racked up a few junk possessions. But Will Ashcroft, he gets my 3, for obvious reasons. Like, they paid him no respect in the same way we didn't pay Nick Dacos respect against Collingwood. Dunkley was absolutely huge, as we've spoken about. 26 touches of his own, tackling through the roof, kept Matt Rao to 3/5 of shit all across the game, which was brilliant. And Hugh McCluggage, like that, that's a 3-vote game in most weeks as well from Hugh. I thought he was absolutely amazing. He's putting together one hell of a season. He really, really is. And at this stage, round 8, he would be probably leading our BNF. Bailey has been consistent most weeks as well, but I thought Hugh again was absolutely huge with his ball use and his tackling. Like, his tackling has just come along so much in this last year is ridiculous. But it's heavily a midfielder's game, this one.
Yeah, mine's a different sort of midfielder's game, I guess. I don't know. I thought Hugh was a little bit wasteful with his disposal, particularly going inside 50, but that's conditions, and that's a lack of structure thing as well with some changes. I had Dunkley as my best on ground by a mile, in my opinion, just in terms of having the effect on the game that he had whilst also curbing what Raul can do. How many times have we seen Raul just like pull a stoppage goal out of his hole in games against us and anyone else? And it's a lot is the answer. I had, Ashcroft Will as my 2 votes, and I had Ashcroft L as my 1 vote, kind of based on a couple of good games. So, but Payne and Harris are really stiff to miss out. Yeah, in my opinion. But you can't give everybody votes. Thankfully, Zach Bailey didn't do much because we were called out for not maybe giving him some love, but he didn't have a good game this week, so we didn't have to.
I thought Rayner did a few good things across the night as well. Still building into the season, but I thought, his last couple of weeks have been okay. He did a few good things.
Rayner was just trying to kill people, which was, that should have been 4 votes for me.
That it was funny because Holman is such a crumb. Like, you could tell in 30 seconds before, Rayner was taking a ball, hospital ball, and you could see Holman line him up. And then, 30 seconds later, the same thing happened in reverse, and you could just see Rayner going, well, now's my time. And he just came in. I don't think I've ever seen Cam Rayner run quite as quick. He just went straight for him. It was brilliant.
It happened quite a few times, like 5 or 6 times. He absolutely lined someone up. And I'm here for that. I don't mind it. He'll probably do a week at some point this year, or 3 or something. So maybe temper that a touch. But
he's doing it within the rules. Like he's not going out of his
absolutely. But then, it's the sort of thing where if you can get it wrong,
100%.
You don't want to be trying to get it wrong. Berry was pretty serviceable.
Yeah, he was great,
as is the case. And probably Charlie a little bit unlucky to be missing out on votes. And I thought Big O was pretty good on Jadwitz. I rate Jadwitz really highly.
Yep. He's got a big task coming up ahead of him as well with Tristan Cherry.
Yep. And I think he's kind of... I said a few weeks ago he's probably seems to have dropped off, or he's working into the season a little bit. And I think he's doing quite a fine job of not exerting too much kind of effort in a lot of these games. Yep. He's just kind of there, and he's making himself annoying, with hopefully the payoff being quite a large back end of the season. But we'll wait and see. So all in all, pretty across the board, great performance. So
I mentioned Tristan Cherry's got Max Gawn the week after, so he's in for about a rougher 3-week period as you get with even going back to Darcy Cameron as well. So Darcy Cameron,
Cameron, he had the St Kilda guy,
Rowan Marshall, he's a fine ruckman, and then you've got Witts into Sherry, into Max Gawn, who are probably 3 of the best 5 ruckmen in the competition, probably. So
even if you go back before Cameron, he had Tim English. So in terms of pedigree, it's everyone's basically got a pretty good ruckman anyway. So and I think by all accounts, Owi's one that a lot of the ruckmen don't love coming up against. So sucked in them too.
The Brisbane Lions Fancast is proud to announce we have our first run of t-shirts available for you to buy. The website to check that one out is ours, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au, and you can see the link right there. It should be towards the top of the page. We've got 6 shirts at the moment. We are going to be looking to expand that range over the next couple of months, and we are certainly welcome to feedback and suggestions of things that you do want to see, and we can hopefully make that happen for you. But for now, 6 shirts available for you, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. We would appreciate any support in what you may be able to afford and help keep the show running and rep our merch as well, because it's our first time doing this and we're very excited about the prospect of seeing these shirts in and around the Gabba and out in the streets. So brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. Get your hands on some Brisbane Lions Fancast merch. Well, he might have a friend join him this week as we have a chat about the twos, which was an absolute belter of a game. Gold Coast got off to a hot start. It was, 33-2 or something, before the Lions pegged it back, then got out to a fairly decent lead, maybe about 3 goals at about a half-time, and then it was just neck and neck from then on until the very end. But, the big talking points out of this game, obviously, is Kitty Coleman's first game back since blowing his knee out. Obviously, coming back way later than most people would have thought since opening round last year, but did not miss a beat. His first kick was a turnover, which was a bit of a shame, but, he's missed a bit over a year of footy. Finished with 28 touches, 24 of them kicks, 5 tackles, which is probably one of the more pleasing bits, 10 marks as well. Fantastic for him. Tommy Duday as well. Absolutely huge game, probably one of the best on across the day. So, and Luke Beacon was, he's putting together some good footy over the last couple of weeks. So it's going to be very hard for him to crack into this team because as we talk about team changes and everything, one of the big things we've got to talk about is Starcevic, Coleman and Duday, all high AFL quality players trying to crack into this back 6, back 7.
Worth noting as well, Fiorini had a game for the ages.
Yeah, but he's been doing that in the 2s for years.
Yeah, but this one more so, 47.
47 and 3 goals, I think. Last week
3
was
goals.
35 and 5 or something like that.
He got a VFL quadruple double, so good on him. But I think Noah Answorth got one of them a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think I kind of read or heard someone said, Duday is just too strong and too quick and too smart to be playing 2s. And Coleman looked great in the highlights that are there.
Yeah,
it's hard to get a read on
really
it, but a couple of cheeky contested marks and stuff like that, and it's just kind of all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
So, selection issues are good to have, and I think
it's just a shame we haven't got in the forward end of the ground where we can't seem to catch a trick. We've just got our back 6 is so solid, and we're going to try and squeeze 3 more players into it. Starcevic is still weeks away at this stage. There's been very little chat about him, which leads me to believe that we're a while away from seeing him. But Coleman and Duday, that's his 4th game back, perhaps, and easily his best one so far. Coleman looks like he hasn't missed a beat, but that could be a case of first game back, he might pull up real sore, and then next week he may finish with 10 touches and not do much with it. So he'll have a couple of weeks in the 2s, I would have thought, but Duday's really pressing his case now.
Well, I think it wasn't Fagan was kind of inclined to leave it up to Duday as to whether he was kind of happy to come back or when he wanted to. So it could be the sort of thing where maybe he personally doesn't feel like he's ready. How can anyone really know? Because I don't think there's a great necessity for it right at the time. So it could just be the idea of get a string of games under your belt, keep it ticking along and see how you go. To be honest, I reckon having had 2.5 knee recos, you're probably just happy to be playing any sort of football at that point in time. So I would be inclined not to rush it. With something like Coleman, let's say in the next month, you could be looking, if the forward line issues haven't quite cleared up, of popping Jasper up back onto a wing and moving Levi further forward, and then you're finding space in there. So there's a few levers that can be pulled. So I think, although it looks right now like we've got a lot of players that are the same position, versatility has been quite a key for a lot of those players, because Zorko can play in another position, Coleman can play up forward, the one I just said, Jasper, he can play on a wing, Wilmot can play on a wing. So there's a lot of different ways you can move it around. It's kind of more the Duday inclusion that will be a little bit more difficult to facilitate at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as most Lions fans will hate to say, it's probably Froggy is the one that will make way for him. I guess, we brought Duday across on a 3-year deal, I think. We didn't bring him across to play 2s. We brought him across to play AFL. Froggy is at the end of his career, so it's going to be a case of hey, this guy is going to be the guy for the next at least 3 years, 2 years. We're going to have to start getting games into him. And, Froggy being the bloke that he is, he'll go, yeah, sure, of course. And he'll go back to the 2s, do his role, whatever. But it's going to be a wait and see at this stage. But, he's had 4 games now. He's probably, if it is up to him, he's probably, after that game on the weekend, he's probably thinking, yeah, I'm ready. So, the tough conversations are going to have to happen.
I just can't see them saying like, "Hey, he wants to play. Froggy, you're out." I can't see that happening. I feel like it would bend the kind of honesty fabric of the kind of club. It would feel weird.
It would obviously feel weird, but I
yeah.
think, you know, at the end of the day, it's a business, and we've spent a lot of money on this bloke. I assume, like I said, we brought him across on a 3-year deal to play AFL. And, you know, before he went down with his knees, one of the better defenders, not, you know, like elite defenders, one of the better defenders. He's quick, got good intercept capability, uses the ball relatively well. Froggy isn't getting any younger. It seems like it's like, okay, well, you know, for the future, you know, Harris and Jack Payne have still got years left in them. They're going to be the key pillars. You know, Froggy's still, 32, 33, something like that.
He's turning 33 this year.
Yeah, so it seems the most likely. I hate it. You know how much I love Ryan Lester. Like, he's one of my favourite players in the team. So, get your Froggy Lester shirts right now at brisbanelionsfancast.com.au.
Shameless, Brooksy, shameless.
It just does seem more likely than any other option, unless there's an injury and it makes the decision easy.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think that Ryan Lester's stint in the twos really primed him for his, like, I would say his resurgent AFL career that he had.
Oh,
because
definitely.
For a long time, I don't think he was in anyone's best 22 for us.
100%.
Until he became irreplaceable. He was the most selfless of players until Big O did 2 shoulders in a game. So, I feel like it would be a very... I don't think that you can drop Leicester for Duday at the moment. I don't think that it's something that can happen because it doesn't need to. Whether it's a conversation you want to give Leicester going into next year or whatever. I mean, I said it last week. If Tom Duday positively impacts this season, I'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah. But I'm not expecting it. So I would be a hypocrite to say otherwise. So.
No, I get it. And I'm right there with you emotionally. I just think that conversation is going to have to happen at some point.
Yeah, emotionally, yeah, but I think also just logically with the way the football's going, you know, our backline is starting to kind of hit form. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, screw me. I'm happy I'm not on the selection panel.
Oh yeah, me too. Big time.
If I'd been on the selection panel, Zorko wouldn't have been All Australian last year. So.
Well, there you go. All right. Well,
we would have had a season of Jackson Pryor on halfback.
We are going to have to make some sort of changes for next week because Sam Day comes out. So you know, we started having this chat before we started recording. Your 2 obvious options are Darcy Fort comes in, or Ty Gallop gets a run. He was okay on the weekend.
You completely butchered that, by the way. I said, are we galloping or are we fortressing?
Yeah. Well, there
you had it right there in your hand, and you didn't use it. So.
He was okay on the weekend, Ty Gallop. Not fantastic. He was okay. His best and worst, you know, I've had this conversation like in comment sections of our Instagram page and stuff. Like, people are saying, yeah, it's time to give him a run when Logan Morris went down. He's had some really good games, but he's also equally had some games where he hasn't affected the stat sheet whatsoever as well. So his best and worst, there is a big gap there. He was okay on the weekend. I think he ended up with maybe 1 or 2 goals. So, yeah, 2 goals too from 8 disposals. So, yes, as you rightly pointed out, though, as well, we are coming up against North Melbourne. So if you're going to give him a run, maybe this is the week to do it against a back 6, which has historically been pretty poor. But simply for the backup ruck option, I think Darcy Fort gets that spot.
Well, that's kind of what happened in round 0.
Yeah.
So as much as I would like to see Ty Gallop play, I think Fort will probably deputise. I do understand people wanting Gallop to come in instead of Logan Morris this week, but I think Sam Collins impacts the game far more than he did if you've got a younger, albeit brutal-looking young fella playing on him. I think it changes the game, and there's too many knock-on effects, whereas I think people sometimes can lose sight of it's almost like we have such good lockdown players across the field that they do it so frequently and so well that it almost goes unnoticed. So Yeah, how often is it really these days that we have like an interceptor go absolutely bunter, as you would say, against us, in a way that they used to back way when it's like, oh shit, Tom Stewart's taken 700 marks.
Yeah.
How's that happened? Like it's the sort of thing that used to be a real issue for us. But I think between Calamachi and like Logan does a good job, Eric does a really good job. Like there's people that are willing to give themselves to the team, and you can't expect a player who's in their first year to know to do that.
No,
I don't even think you can expect Logan Morris to do it.
No, definitely not.
Because he's still learning how to play football, particularly in the way that we play. So that would be my erring on the side of caution. And we saw it last year as well when we had Hitwood was out and we had Logan Morris and Sticks and Danaher against Hawthorn, and it just was a shit show. It didn't work.
That was putrid.
Yeah, I mean, it looked great in the first minute.
And
but aside from that, not good. And that's just what happens when you have like a Maverick and two children running around in the floor. Oh, I mean, Brandon Ryan's not a child, but he's, in terms of game experience, he virtually is. So you've got to kind of temper that and make sure that you have a good blend of experience and things like that. And sometimes when players are playing well, it's because of the nurture, not necessarily nature. Not everyone's going to be your Ashcroft or stuff like that. So tempering expectations a little bit is important. So I think Fort boringly will come in.
I think so. If Kyle Oman's fine, he'll be coming in for Will McLaughlin. That seems fairly easy. And if Logan is all right with that calf, then he'll come in for Gardner, I would have thought as well. So yeah, absolutely. I think Connor McKenna probably sticks on the bench, on the sub, I would say. Yeah, I'd say so as well. You just don't want to piss around with calves, though, because calves, as we know, are tricky. So he said it was tightness. Let's just see how it goes. Charlie Cameron was calf tightness in round 1 against Sydney and then ended up missing the next week as well. So I think they'll take the cautious approach regardless with Logan. So he may or may not be in. I think Kyle Oman is probably more likely to be starting than Logan at this stage.
They like re-pump him full of air, Kyle Oman.
God.
Like expanded his chest back out.
Hopefully he gets a bloody run at it.
It's all right. He'll be fine. You can just drop him anywhere and he'll probably do a good job. So,
while we are talking about Logan Morris, we did have a message from Nathan about Logan Morris. He's been in the news a bit the last couple of weeks. Did you see Brad Johnson did the famous 2023 redraft and took Logan Morris at number 1 over? I did
see that, and I'm wondering whether he did it because he's like contract baiting.
Maybe.
Because he knew that it was like, to me, it seems a little bit more, like, let's be honest, no one else on that list has won a premiership. So, he wins immediate accolades of what did Bob Murphy say, like the big bull at the watering hole. Like everyone's like, oh, he's won a premiership. So he's got that.
And they did say that there's a couple of Victorian clubs, namely Collingwood and Geelong, that are starting to throw offers at him. So that contract situation with Logan like I said, it's not becoming super important, but it is definitely a watch and see because we'd hate to lose him.
We would, and I think it's an element of just, I mean, when you have a team like ours, people are going to be on less than what they would, be able to get. So, if the price is right elsewhere, he doesn't need to make that move yet. Like, he really doesn't need to. If you get to sort of 25, 6, 7, go... Where was he drafted from, out of curiosity?
I think
Do we know?
Country Victoria, I think. Okay. Maybe he could be in Melbourne. I don't really know. But, yeah.
So my sage advice to Logan Morris would be... I think he's a very good footballer, and I think he can become a great footballer if he was to stick around for the next sort of 4 or 5 years. His next kind of midterm contract, I think he'll be training with the best defenders, and I've talked about that before, where I think better defenders will make you a better forward. And I think no other team is really closer to a premiership at this point. So stick around.
Would you
make some money later on?
if it came down to holding on to Logan for a few more years or enticing someone like Oscar Allen to the club, where would you put the eggs in that basket?
I'd stick with Logan, personally.
Yeah, it's a tough one because Oscar Allen he's had a poor year. Like, he's obviously had a number of injury troubles, and that doesn't bother me so much because we've got a history of being able to rehabilitate, chronically injured players. But yeah, they're playing him down back as well at the moment, so it's a tough one there. I would probably, if push came to shove and it's like, well, you bring in Oscar Allen, but you lose Logan Morris, I think I'd probably lean towards holding on to Logan.
I think for me, you're looking at players that have done. There's a give and take with a football club. You're looking at players that have done right by your club, and there are others. It's like, Oscar Allen's not covered himself in glory in the last couple of years. What was it, 2 years ago, where he was sort of 4th or 5th in the Coleman? He was barely played last year. It's sort of. Plus, I'm not sure. Like, I'll be the first to admit that my knowledge of the finances and how football works is less than most, but I just think that we're kind of now at a position where we should be able to be luring people to the club to play in a successful team.
Yep.
Not having to offer quite the premiums of some of the other clubs. So whether that means that, I just think if you want to play in our team, line up. Line up.
All right, well, that addresses that one. So, look, we won't speak too much about our game coming up against North Melbourne because we did join Josh from the Further North podcast, and we've got a pretty in-depth chat with him that will be available for you to listen to, and we'll put the links available at across our socials and in the episode description here as well, but that'll be on YouTube and I think across Spotify and all that sort of stuff as well. So we did a good chat with Josh, one of the, great fella, Josh.
Yeah, I liked him. He was good. People will probably be amazed to hear me on my best behaviour. So I barely even mentioned Sheezy Ball, although I did. So,
but fair to say that we should win this game coming up against North Melbourne. We've got some winnable matches coming up against North and then Melbourne. On a couple of Sunday afternoons. So we've sort of got a couple of Sunday games in a row, which is good for that routine we've spoken about before. Not
great for the podcast routine, I got to say.
No, not great for the podcast routine. But that's fine. We'll make it work. We will make it work.
I know my brother over in Germany, he's like, yo, man, where's the podcast? And I'm like, haven't done it. The game finished at like 11 o'clock last night. And he's like, but it's Monday morning. It's when I listened to the podcast. And I'm like, sorry. So I'll be having to have that conversation, and he'll be having to enjoy my discomfort over the wheel a day late.
Oh, no, it's a shame you've remembered the wheel.
Yeah, but I'm still going to be surprised by it in about 10 minutes time anyway. So,
well, how about you get surprised by it now? Here's
fucking right there. I thought we had another thing to do.
I don't think we've got no time for questions this week. So this week, The Wheel is brought to you by Crisp Communications, crispcoms.co. Abby and the team recently nominated for a Sunshine Coast Business Award. So fantastic news for them. They are always winning awards, those guys. So make sure you do check out Abby and the team at crispcoms.co. And obviously, they are giving you your free Brisbane Lions Fancast stickers available through our website as well. So, The Wheel.
I'm calling a recount. We didn't do tipping, so
okay, we'll do tipping after. We'll do tipping after.
No. Okay, right. I thought you were going to get rid of the whole thing. The Wheel wasn't going to be there.
No. The tipping's coming up after. All right. So
got a bloody jump scare.
I had Luke Power last week. You had Justin Sherman. Luke Power won. It is your turn to pass or hold in the first spin of The Wheel this week.
Can I just get Google ready so I can look if I need? Okay.
All right.
Spin me.
Todd Banfield. Are you going to hold or pass on Hot Toddy?
I think I'll pass, but
yeah, it's a good shout.
Not because I don't like Todd Banfield. Like, he was the glue that held that forward line together in 2010. So you can do Todd Banfield.
All right. I'll get Todd Banfield, which means you have got... Joel Patfull.
Yeah, that's all right.
The star of the block for an episode or two before he and his missus quit. I think he's a model now in New South Wales. Won a couple of BNF. Anyway, I'm on Todd Banfield, so you shut up.
So I'm going to unpopularly say I probably would have had more fun doing Todd Banfield.
Yeah, Joel Patfull doesn't seem like a fun sort of fella, does he?
Yeah, do Todd Banfield.
Look, I do remember he picked up around the same draft, or within a year or two, as when we got Jack Redden and Tom Rockcliffe. And I thought to myself, oh look, we've nailed a draft or two here. We got Rockcliffe, Redden, and Todd Banfield, like one of the great small forwards. He looks like the redhead version of James Hawksley, who's running around in the middle as well. He was good for slamming a couple of goals, and then it was a couple of years later we got Josh Green. It's like, oh, now we've got clean-cut Todd Banfield, and he's even better. So, Todd Banfield, you can go to Richmond and play 2 games or whatever he did. As you said, he certainly was the glue in that forward line in the early 2010s. He was good for 2-3 goals a game, when the Brisbane Lions were good for 6-7 goals a game. So... good for Todd Banfield.
I mean, he was absolutely on fire in the first 4 rounds of 2010.
Oh, weren't we all, though?
Yeah, well, you're sitting there going, far out, man. Brownie, Fev, Travis Johnston, and then this Todd Banfield guy crops up and starts just like kicking goals to find you. Yeah, it was fantastic. Did you have red hair as a child?
Me? I did not, no.
Okay, because you seem to really like red hair and red-haired people.
What's that based on?
Well, Justin Lepich, Todd Banfield, Green. I'm sure you loved Source Merritt.
Oh yeah, come on now. What you saying? You didn't love Source Merritt? Is that what you're saying?
No, not as much as most.
Oh come on, man! Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Don't say things you can't take back.
It's just you like Josh. I mean, Travis Johnson. What a guy. Anyway, Joel Patfield. He won a lot of BNFs for us, didn't he? All-Australian, I think.
I don't know that he was All-Australian, but I think he won 2012, 2013, or 2011, 2012. He won 2 in a row before he went to GWS.
He played a lot of games. He played a lot more games than I remember, and in a time where football was not the most fun thing on earth.
No.
Got to say, which is understandable, but 220 game career, that's fantastic. And he was a pretty reliable defender, so I mean,
I don't think
good on him.
He didn't play any games for Port, did he?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, so they got him as a rookie pick, and he never played for him, and then we got him in some sort of trade that I don't know what we threw the other way or something.
He completely missed the 2005 season, so I don't know whether he did the old Mal Michael and retired and then came out of retirement or something like that as a, living Joe Danaher's dream of retiring at 19 and then realising that was a horrible idea. But, yeah, Joel Patfield, he was a diamond in a pretty rough time.
Oh, he certainly was. And then, served his time at GWS, moved to Sydney, became a model, then went on the block and everyone hated him because it's too hard, I quit.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with Jason Ackermanis when he went on SAS, whatever the hell it is, and just was like, "Oh, my ankle's a bit hurt. I'm out of here." And it's like, come on, dude.
Yep.
Just stick around a bit. Although we also did have Anthony Mundine on that was like, "I think my family needs me," and he called home, and they're like, "No, we're good. Stay there." And he's like, "No, I got to go home." So that was quite fun. Levity is a wonderful thing. Sorry, that was a terrible segment, everybody.
Look, it's fair to say we didn't get 2 of the best players there, Todd Banfield and Joel Patfull.
But people love Joel Patfull. Like, people rate him super high and really like him. And it's like, yeah, cool. People know that I'm a bit... I like things and then I don't like things. And there's not a lot of in-between for me. And I'm like, yeah, Joel Patfull, whatever. It's all good. Thank you. I appreciate your 180 games you probably played for us, but... Will I remember any of them? Probably not. I remember more Todd Banfield games than Joel Patfull games, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad shout. I think that's probably the same for me.
And I'm just talking about 4 games in 2010. That's all I remember.
All right, well, let's get to the tipping then. I did fairly poorly in round 8. I got 5. All those 50-50s, I missed out on basically all of them. So I tipped Freo, I tipped Collingwood, I tipped the Giants, and I tipped the Suns. So, that's what you get for tipping against your team, obviously.
Yeah, I changed because I think I tipped all the home teams and then I obviously didn't. So I swapped from St Kilda like a muppet. I swapped to Melbourne, so that's good, and I swapped to GWS. So had I not changed my tips and had I changed my tips, would have resulted in the same thing. So I can't really be too complaining about that. I do continue to climb by incremental gains each of the last 3 rounds, I think. So I'm coming, baby.
There's a couple of tough games coming up in round 9, and don't forget, if you haven't already, you can join the Brisbane Lions Fancast tipping competition if you've got a tipping account and you've been doing it across the year. First one is Fremantle Collingwood at Optus Stadium Friday night. Freo coming off a horrific performance.
Absolutely horrible performance.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I said the things I said about Caleb Sarong last week because they were there in all of their glory in the game just gone. I was astounded he got 7 coaches' votes the week before, but it is what it is. I've tipped Collingwood by 19 allegedly because I can't seem to scroll to 20.
Okay. I did 21, so we're there. St Kilda Carlton is a tough one.
Yes, but it's at the MCG, so I'm going to tip Carlton.
But it's a home game for St Kilda, weirdly enough.
Yep.
Sure. Hawthorn Melbourne, you're tipping the Hawks there, surely?
Correct.
Sydney Essendon at Marvel.
I've gone Sydney, but I think this is more 50-50 than...
Yeah, me too.
The Chad and Heaney are kind of... looks a bit better, so... Do you see that guy punch that other dude in the face?
Yes.
And I'm not talking about Willie Rioli.
Yeah, Melican. So he's missing 3 weeks.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Stop these flying arms. It's dumb.
Suns Bulldogs at People's First is a tough one as well. The Dogs are flying at the moment. Flying.
Yes, but it is People's First, so Gold Coast.
Yeah, I've gone the Dogs in this one. Like, their form is hard to ignore at the moment. Showdown, Port and Adelaide.
Gone Port.
Sure. They do have a knack of winning the showdowns, don't they? I think that's...
I don't know. I just feel like they're pretty angry. And they didn't play super well. Did they play North Melbourne?
No, they got done. They got smacked by the Dogs at Ballarat.
That's right. Yep. Yes, they did. Yeah, I'm just gonna. That's one I might change. So we'll stick.
That's a tough one.
Stick with Port for the time being.
I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be a cracking showdown. Richmond West Coast.
Do you reckon they'll give it more than 10 minutes lead up?
I reckon they will. Yeah.
For the showdown, do you reckon they'll 10 minutes, or do you reckon they'll give it a full hour of it's coming back non-stop, which we all love to see.
Yeah, they'll give it a full docuseries. Richmond West Coast at the G.
Richmond, I've gone.
Yeah. Cats and Giants. The Giants are in free fall at the moment. Lost their last 3. 4? Yeah, 3.
3. Sorry, that was... My hand doesn't look right. Geelong for sure.
Yep. And then obviously us and North to finish things off at Ninja Stadium on the Sunday Arvo.
We are both aficionados of the Ninja. We like Ninja.
Yes.
Like making ice cream.
Yes.
With the old Ninja. I have a Ninja air fryer. So what a great name for a stadium. I think that surpasses Marvel. It surpasses People's First. I don't know what the hell they do. Worth noting, actually, so you made a bit of a mistake there. Gold Coast are not playing at People's First.
Oh, no, it's their Darwin games. Well, they've got an even better bloody record at Darwin.
So they'll win by 160 points like they did to Geelong last year?
That was mental. I think they're playing... Maybe it's Hawthorn. I think they're playing Geelong up there again.
Bulldogs this week.
Yeah, Bulldogs this week, but then next week, it's the Hawks up there on the Thursday night. They've got an astounding record in Darwin, the Suns. I don't think they've lost.
Do you reckon Bailey Dale will be careful about what he does in Darwin?
I'm not going to comment on that.
A lot of people in the footballing fraternity are electing for chaos this year.
Yeah.
It's wildly entertaining, but do we not think maybe better judgment should be
Obviously.
maybe done? Like the Jamara stuff, insane, but also pretty funny. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
Bailey Smith is a...
Yeah.
Sorry?
The Instagram picture from Jamara.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
It's quite funny, but also I agree with Nick Rewalt, so
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, Bailey Smith and the Bont, quite funny.
Yep.
Don't mind it. Bailey Smith is playing some good football. Tell you what, Dangerfield is... I said when I was watching the other night against Collingwood, I said, Dangerfield is playing like he's simultaneously on opiates and meth. Because he is so hitting the contest so hard, but has no fear of getting hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he's in any pain. And I know that sounds like weird, but it's just, what is that guy doing? It's insane. So he's really fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, he's playing really good footy for a 35-year-old or whatever he is. And yeah, it's probably some of the best footy he's played. You know, last year he had how many hamstrings or whatever. So for him to string games together and, you know, be best on almost exclusively is fantastic for him.
Jack Crisp.
Yep.
Couldn't do it.
No.
Oh, well.
Basically, yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. That was a good game.
That was a great game.
Now, there's a couple of things just before we go. Do you know what's giving me the shits is the below the contact knees stuff. Like Cam Rayner got done with one. There was one in the Geelong Collingwood game. I'm sure there's all over the place. But when you are someone who has got the ball in your hand and the player just runs into you and kind of, what's that thing? The Three Stooges over the top. Like,
Yeah.
reward the person going for the ball, because the below the contact knees thing is to stop people sliding and breaking their legs like soccer.
Yeah.
That's the reason it's there. Actually, funnily enough, the reason why pushing the backs were a rule was to stop people pushing people on the backs when they were going to kick the ball and blowing out hamstrings, not this like in the marking contest stuff. It was to stop that. And these are all player-driven rule changes. So I think if a player is fairly going for the ball and protecting it, and someone just like lopes in.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what Cam Rayner was supposed to do in that instance.
Simultaneously sucked in Bobby Hill. But I understand inconsistencies are a little bit...
Yeah.
They're there. You know, the James Sicily one equally as legalicious.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they are what they are. Umpiring, they're not doing themselves any favours.
No.
Defrag the umpires.
That's
Can we
right.
get that trending on nothing? So that was a good comment by whoever that was. I think it was a Collingwood voyeur that came in to watch that podcast and expected to see us squirming far more. The interesting comment, it's like, you got belted. And it's like, I think we said multiple times in that podcast, we got absolutely flogged.
Yeah.
So bit of soul searching might be required for that fella.
That's fine. Yes, if you do want to catch up on our North preview, search for the Further North podcast. We will put the links up available for you to get your extra dose of us. And like I said, if you do see us, like Tom and Winston did over the weekend and said g'day, I mean, I always appreciate it. So it's nice to know we are reaching people and people are listening to the show and buying the shirts and doing all that sort of stuff. It really is humbling stuff. So thank you very much.
Good luck finding me, though.
Yes.
The little hermit down in Geelong. So.
Let's go. 7-1, top of the table, as people are saying at the moment. You know, here's my little curmudgeon thing. I hate it when people say top of the table. We've got a ladder in AFL, not a table.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
it is a ladder. One must climb the. How many people have what are these fancy multiple layered tables that people have? Do you like move up and down as you're eating the courses?
Yeah, that's right.
And just the lower table gets incinerated, dropping down every time. Insane. So yeah, top of the ladder.
See you next week after the North game.